Hey everybody, welcome back to Behind the Book, unpacking Black financial culture, building wealth from the inside out. I'm your host, Michael Thomas, and the author of the book, Black Financial Culture. If you don't have your copy, you can get it anywhere books are sold online. And if you are crypto curious, there is a copy on the blockchain through a company called Book.io. You can actually go purchase a copy there as well. The cool thing is that you actually own your digital version of the book. You don't have to pay in crypto. You can use a credit card. But one of the things that I want to lead with today is something I've been quoted with saying in a number of presentations that I've given, and it's this: shame causes people to hide, while empathy encourages people to rise. And with that being said, I think that there's this excerpt from my book that demonstrates this beautifully. The excerpt comes from the foreword, and my mom wrote the foreword. And I think that she kind of captures the spirit of who I am beautifully, and the way in which I want you to engage with this book. I want it to be something that you can engage in your own vulnerabilities, not by me calling out your vulnerabilities or your deepest fears or anxieties and things of that nature that you may have, but to actually have an opportunity to see into my deepest vulnerabilities, anxieties, fears, and shortcomings, so that it empowers you to understand, like Malice says in Birds Don't Cry, there's an L in every lesson, and let your mess become your message. I think that there's something eloquent and beautiful there, because I don't know anybody who's perfect. In fact, perfection is not required when navigating this process. What's more important is that we engage with self-compassion, and we show up each and every day, and we just get a little bit better each and every day, and that compounds to something rather extraordinary. And that's just for our lifetime, but think about that compounding over generations, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the book. So right now, I'd like to work through this excerpt with you that kind of speaks to that point, right? Shame causes people to hide, while empathy encourages people to rise. So here's the excerpt from my mom's foreword. Highways are often used as an allegory for financial success, and my son has been a driving force in that regard. Pause. That's a bar. I did not know my mom was a lyricist, but clearly she has the ability to engage in double entendres and punchlines. That's a bar, Ma. That's a bar. Let's go. I see where I get my creative juices from. I've learned how to save money for a rainy day without the fear and worry that comes with unexpected financial shocks. I've learned how to improve my credit score, refinance high interest loans, and pay off debt. Michael's advice and bottomless patience has yielded a new home, a savings account with actual money in it. Ma, you're going in. An excellent credit score. And if I'm not mistaken, you're in the 800. So air high five, let's go. And a positive wealth position. The beautiful thing about my son is that he has never browbeaten me or forced his perspectives and intellect on finances on me, even when I made financial mistakes. He leads by example. He's been driving his Toyota Camry for 18 years, which his wife affectionately calls Panda because it's white with black spots due to chipped paint. And he won't get a paint job. He jokes that a paint job costs more than his car is worth. Now, I love cars, but watching Michael drive around for nearly 2 decades without a car note makes me think twice about getting another car whenever I get that new car itch. So, one of the things that I absolutely loved about what my mom said here, because I've always been so intentional about this, and I didn't know that if she'd ever pick up on it, was this whole notion of me not being paternalistic in our relationship and telling her what she has to do and how she has to do it, and actually shaming her and judging her. Um, and so that really warms my heart because, again, the whole point of my writing of this book is to establish heart to heart connections, not money connections. Money is just a conduit. At the end of the day, it's not the main thing. The heart is. And if you can create space with someone to have a favorable impact on their heart and create fertile ground to be trusted when you disseminate knowledge and information to that individual, knowing that you're not judging them, you're not shaming them, you're not uh, trying to make it seem that you're superior and trying to have influence on someone, or even bringing stuff up. You remember that time I told you that you needed to do X? See what happened? Like every time there's a family gathering, you're always bringing up how you helped someone and what you did for someone in X, Y, and Z. That's just not me. It's not me at all. It never has been me, because my reason for navigating this space is to help encourage people to be the best version of themselves. Um, and there are so many people who've sown into me and have helped me along my journey. There's none of this I've done alone, just to be very frank and honest. But the fact that in doing this with compassion, uh, doing this with a empathetic lens, uh, really, really makes me happy that my mom noticed that in the way that she wrote this. And it took a long time for her to hear me, because again, there's a parent child dynamic, and it takes a while for your parent to see you as an adult and someone who may have wisdom and who may know something. And so and I got that. And really, at the end of the day, though, just sticking with it and not giving up, but just being caring, kind, and compassionate in the way that we engage, and in using the messes along the way, not to shame, but to gradually provide guidance, but then ultimately leave it to my mom to make the best decision for herself, was incredibly important. And so as you navigate this book, what you're going to find is I use a very compassionate and empathetic tone, which kind of goes back to the previous statement that I made. Because if I'm judging you along the way, my experiences working with clients, just people in life, generally speaking, if we use shame as a way in which we try to encourage behavioral change, the behavioral change isn't actual behavioral change. It's an illusion of behavioral change. So ultimately what people end up doing is they start hiding the things that they're doing instead of openly sharing and discussing and trying to work on those things, even though they fall over and over again as they build their capacity for change. And that's a real process. And so if we engage in shame, what happens is that people hide and we get further and further away from the truth, and things compound, and it's much more difficult to help those individuals, family members included. But if we lead with empathy and compassion and grace, what happens is that people, as they're developing their capacity for more, which you have to do in order to sustainably engage in this financial well-being journey, is that we allow them to fall. And then when they fall, we're just there to help pick them up, because every time they take a few steps, they're strengthening their legs, and they can take a few more steps, and we're celebrating it, right? Because that's a part of the process, but you can't do that being encapsulated with shame. So one of the beautiful things about the foreword of this book, which is foreshadowing of things, is that I am engaging with a compassionate and empathetic tone. You can start exactly where you are. And I want for you to embrace the notion of self-compassion and to view your own situation through an empathetic lens, because you deserve it. And it's absolutely necessary for you to rise, because the opposite is that if you engage in self-shame, more than likely you'll hide. And I don't want you to hide. That's not the point of this book. So I hope that you've enjoyed this little segment for today. There's so much meat in this book. So if you don't already have a copy, go grab a copy. And until next time, you have more power than you think. Own it. Stay blessed. Bye.